Police in Kampala City are currently investigating a fatal shooting incident that occurred at the Mbuya offices of Ultimate Private Security Company, resulting in the death of 3 individuals, including the alleged perpetrator, known as Mawa Richard. Reports indicate that Richard, who was an employee at Ultimate Security Company, shot 2 individuals, a human resource officer and the armory officer, before responding police officers engaged and fatally shot him while neutralizing the threat. While the motive behind this tragic event remains under investigation, the incident highlights a growing concern regarding the misuse of firearms, particularly among authorized personnel, where armed individuals turn their weapons against their colleagues, their spouses, or even themselves. The underlying issues contributing to this trend require careful examination to understand the root causes of such violent acts within groups entrusted with the firearms as a means to mitigate the risks posed by authorized firearms to help prevent future tragedies. This is the Limelight. Well, good evening and welcome to the program. This is the Limelight. My name is Prince Apollo, and on the Limelight this evening, we have Mr. Freddie Egesa. And Freddie is a security analyst, but also a private investigator. Freddie, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, viewers. Thank you for inviting me, Apollo. Yes.
Let's go straight to the issue, Freddie. Looks like these incidents cut across all security agencies, including the police, the army, and as well as the private security guards. Should it be a serious matter of concern?
Yeah, of course, anything involving a gun, more especially misuse of a gun, has to be a serious concern. And what I think we are seeing today is the situation of gun misuse. Or it could be that maybe because now that we have so many guns at display, we have there are many guns with so many. I remember we used to talk about this, and I say the more guns, the more trouble, because every gun there is a percentage of insecurity it poses, even to the holder. If you're carrying a gun, you are like 50% in danger, because you can be attacked. It can go off by mistake. So meaning that if in any home where there is a gun, there is danger. Okay, it may sometimes, in very, very few incidents, that you relate it to someone walking, maybe that a gun can safeguard. But if a gun lands in wrong hands, whether in uniform or not in uniform, a gun is something that can be, a gun is not a whole, it can still be a danger. So that we have to look at that, because to start with, we have seen even the most trained teams like SFC. You have heard that, I think, was it on Entebbe Road, where they invaded the police station, beat up everybody, did ABC. Now, I think it's a culture that is invading us, that people think that once you have a gun, then you can misbehave, you can do whatever you want. Of course, you have also seen a situation where guns are now being used to settle scores. You know, we are having a problem here, psychological, social, and maybe economic, that people always have issues. I remember the policeman who shot his friend, it was because of a debt, maybe of 200,000 or less. Now, that means, that spells a situation that within our systems of guys who carry guns, the capacity to resolve conflicts has almost gone down. There is that situation of lack of trust of juniors to officers, because such matters could be solved by one walking into the office of a senior and reporting his colleague. But now, when it comes to a situation that he has to sort it out himself, that's an indicator that the way we solve conflicts has gone down. Of course, you can look at our courts of law. You take a case to court, it takes 10 years. You take a case to court, you die even as they are rescheduling, as they are doing applications, as they are doing so many things. In fact, you have seen lawyers are very rich, judges are very rich, but the poor person, the poor Ugandan, has not had a chance. Yes, so I think we're having a problem that the way we look, because now it has gone into those who carry guns. They have problems like us. They have issues, they also have trouble, they have psychological problems, they also have mental problems, but how come we cannot look at that? You remember, in our own days, we used to have special branch. Special branch was there to observe every office as a person. So they would look at you, the way you behave, because a person does not get mentally sick overnight.
Yeah.
It's a process. But you see, you find that there's you remember the man who shot an Indian. You are saying that they had said he should not move near a gun. But he's in uniform. You know, that type of nonsense. So I think it's a time we kind of redesigned our security forces the way the Mzungu left us. Because the Mzungu knew that through special branch, every officer was individually observed and handled as an officer so that there is no catastrophe.
You've partly answered my second question, because I wanted to ask you about the driving, the factors, the drivers of this trend, the factors behind these incidents. And you mentioned something connected with mental health of these officers, or people who are holding guns. To what extent do you think that is a factor?
Of course, let's first of all look at what may cause stress to a person carrying a gun. Now think of a situation that you have a sergeant, or maybe a corporal, or maybe the last stage of a policeman who does not even get 600,000 shillings. Maybe he gets like around maybe 400 or whatever. This man has a home. He has a family. Yeah. He is supposed to be on duty almost 12 hours and sometimes 24 hours. Yeah. So his stress is automatic because he is not able to properly meet his own obligations as a man or as a father. Maybe we don't have proper schools where policemen take their own, at least with the army they have a few, but policemen and these other local guards, you find that they live below the standards of living. Below the standards of living.
It has something to do with their welfare.
Yes, somehow, somewhere, they have to hack, or they have to play around, they have to maybe like if it is parking, they have to call your fund so that you leave some 500,000. In the process, you find that somehow, somewhere they'll be stressed. And once they are stressed, then anything can trigger them. Any situation can trigger them. So this is like, I wish we had duty-free shops where policemen can pick their items. I wish we had schools where they take their children. But here the situation is being called that your child has been sent home. Maybe the wife is also calling. And you know, in our own old days, we could also carry radio calls. These guys have smartphones. So if the wife is quarreling because the basket, the charge, it has no food in it, the woman is quarreling directly. If the child has been sent home, the man will know immediately. And now in the process, he's demanding some little money from his friend who cannot give it. So in the process, that person can snap. So I think there is a very big duty for government to look into the welfare of these people who carry guns, and their mental situation. They should be checked on. Checking on them may not even be a solution, because you may check on me, but you have not handled some of the problems that stress me. That means that I'll carry my stress, you'll cancel me, but the core problem will not be touched. So in the process, I'm likely to snap. Yes.
Let's now speak about this recent incident of private security guard who shot the human resource officer and the armory officer. And it reminds me of other incidents that have happened before, when we have seen security guards murdering their bosses.
They can.
How best now can that be handled?
Of course, it's the same thing like the way we lost, was there Briga? You know, no, the other minister. You know, these security guards, they are human beings. That's the first thing. When you are dealing with them, you should know that you are dealing with people who are capable of accessing firearms. Now, in a situation that maybe you want to dismiss him, do you leave him with a gun and tell him you are dismissed? How does he access the gun? Did he disarm somebody? So there was some kind of laxity just within the command and control. With guns, you should have command and control. And then secondly, I think there should be a situation, because like I've said, they get stressed. And two, of course, I don't support that they should act, that all of us get stressed, but we find ways and means of solving our stress. But what we are saying is that in a situation like that, it's like, if you know that you're going to intrigue this person or to discipline him, you should do the basics. Now, I don't expect the human resource person to have had the knowledge about dealing with armed people, more especially in conflict. So that one possibly that was easy, that she could have been killed, or him or she. But then I'm talking about the security, the guys who are in charge of security, because once you believe that you're handling a kind of a volatile situation, you have to make sure that arms are kept, are not within reach. But now in a situation that they can possibly go and disarm a weak one, she can still shoot. We lost another one. Was it called Biekwaso? I think at the former IGP, who was shot by his own guard. Guards can be very nice. I remember all of us when we started, I think we used to have them as a company, but you have to be, you should be so close to them. They should be like your children.
Okay.
So that when there is they don't need it so much. They have lived without so much. That little they need. If you distance yourself from them, you indicate that you are more educated and they are best people, they will shoot you. But if you come close to them and deal with them, they should be psychological, that you have to cool them down and make sure that even if you have to disarm them, even if you have to discipline them, even if you have to chase them, you should make sure that the environment is clean.
Do you see that mechanism existing in the structures, especially of these formal security agencies like the army and the police, that would handle conflicts and that conflict management mechanism? Do you see it existing?
Of course, to a certain extent, yes. In some companies have done so well. Others, of course, still have challenges, but it has to be built. It has to be built because we are now seeing the results of neglecting such a fiber within the security circles. These were carrying guns. We should know how much they are paid. We should know how they deal with their situations. In case there's a conflict, it should not be a situation of like being handled arrogantly, because they are literally carrying arms, and a gun is a gun. So if you touch him where he gets funny, he will definitely act like this. Maybe this is like you used to have a problem, like I think was it some 20 years ago. Guards used to walk in a van, and one day they came across a situation where there was a robber, and someone shot all of them around Kololo. He killed all of them. Now that you hardly see guards moving in Uganda. I think here in Uganda we learn by examples. Maybe now people are going to learn and know how to deal with situations. But there should be research houses. There should be what we call barazas of discussion. Because like private investigation, we have got so many foreigners investing in it, but many of them don't even care about the well-being of our local guards, and in such a situation you'll see a lot of mistakes done.
Has it anything to do with the disparity in salaries, in privileges within these forces, do you think?
No, of course, nobody will ever have enough salary. I've had His Excellency, his salary is 3.5, and it's not enough. So salaries are salaries, but still, it should also be a situation of handling. There are people who get 70,000 shillings a month, and they are fairly working, and they know that's the little the Lord has allowed them to have. So it's about handling, it's about experience with these guards. If you bring in your son, if you bring in your daughter, if you bring in your cousin because you are the managing director, and you give him a job, then tomorrow he's shouting at these guards. Her life or his life is on the line.
Is in danger.
Yes.
So as we conclude, what risk, or what is the risk at hand now? What is at stake?
I think if security misuse is a big problem now in Uganda. We have seen MPs. Someone who's supposed to guide him is carrying her bags, he's carrying her cup, he's carrying her mandazi. This type of nonsense. People should understand that a person on guard should behave this way. We're seeing a lot of mistakes. Not only that, you have been on the road. You see how they take VIPs. These VIPs are not going to die of bullets, but they're going to die of accidents. And they will kill even other people. Now, you'll even see that those who are taking them don't know. They're very ignorant of what they are doing. Yes, they have cocked their guns, but they are moving at 150. That's enough to roll and even kill the VIP. So there's a lot of nonsense which we see now. And we should have barazas to discuss this. Several of these guys who have been really pushed into very high places to make decisions, many of them, I would say they may have the degrees, but they lack from experience with dealing with security. And that's why we're getting several mistakes.
Finally, from me, any other recommendation or recommendations you can make to mitigate this disturbing situation?
I think the police, especially the police, because the police is the one in charge of domestic security. I think they should open up to be advised. Okay. You know, they're so close that even if you went there and say, I want to tell you about this, you may not get a chance to talk to them. Sure. And in the process, they are making a lot of mistakes. You have seen that once the police is locked out, that's why now we see the Agasirwens. You hear someone is accused of having been supposed to protect, but then he was killing. Because immediately you keep away the public and you think security is heaven, and you only manage it as security personnel, then the people you're guarding are useless. That's the problem you're going to have. And we have to deal with that.
Any other recommendation on the side of...
I wish Ugandans
especially on the side of private companies, security companies.
Yeah, of course, they should kind of come up with modalities, regulations, improving on the guard welfare, improving on the communication of that communication. That is the
Ministry of Internal Affairs.
Yes, and you know there should be also some more kind of standard fees they charge a client. You know, clients tend to cry and they want to pay them very little. They want to pay very little, but they want a guard. Now, if you believe that you are paying very little to your company which is guarding you, then know that you are not prioritizing the security. You're not safe because this man also is a human being. He may even be having more children than you have, more problems than you have.
He's depressed.
Yes. So if you're bargaining and you believe that you should take advantage of the company to subsidize whatever you're going to pay, and then this man is also given maybe a slice of that and it is not enough, then just pray to God you're not as safe as you think.
Your final what?
Yes, I think Ugandans, it is high time we thought about the gun education. I don't know if we should put it in school, because you have heard, like Americans lose a very big number daily with guns. Gun abuse. For them, they thought that if you give guns everybody, then they'll be safe. But they're not safe. A gun is meant to kill. A gun has not been meant for any other job other than to kill. So many of you are here applying for guns. But you should know a gun is, one, a security risk to the holder, to the family of the holder, and to anybody around. Yes, if well used, it's a tool. But if misused, it's a weapon, and it's a danger. This we have to know.
Thank you so much, Freddie, for your time and
welcome.
And those insights.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, our viewers, and that's it from Freddie Egesa. Freddie Egesa is a security analyst, but also a private investigator. We've been talking about gun misuse, especially from the people who are entrusted with those firearms. And we are talking about the recent incidents where we've seen policemen or the army personnel, or even those from private security companies turning guns against themselves and even killing their family members. And it becomes a very disturbing issue. Let's wait and see how the authorities will respond to mitigate the consequences of this disturbing trend. My name is Prince Apollo. Let's catch up again next Friday in another edition of the Limelight. Good evening, God bless you, and God bless Uganda.
Download the Salt Media app from the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.